Hi, this is Lori with CustomizedWalls.com, one of the moderators for the interior design community on Google+. I have a fantastic show today. It's going to prepare you for 2015 in a way that's going to help your website gain more traffic, get all SEO'd, and we have our moderator here, Ross Dunn, to share the tips and tricks that we all want to hear. So hi, Ross. Tell us a little bit about you, because I mean a lot of our moderators know about you, but our community needs to know more.
Thank you. Geez, where to begin? I've been doing web marketing for 17 years. This is my 18th now. I hardly believe it. Started my business in 1997, and since then I've kind of grown up with Google, a little brat that he is, and gotten to learn what works and what doesn't. Or at least I'm constantly on my toes, anyways. He's always changing on me. In any case, these days we do a lot of strategy, competitor analysis, a lot of small business and medium-sized business, which is kind of our bread and butter. I really enjoy working with them because I know I can make a more of an improvement in their business than the larger companies where I've worked with them, and I've worked with Time Inc. and the stuff that you recommend sometimes just gets lost, and it doesn't make a big effect, So I've really enjoyed working with the interior design community because what I can help them with really makes a difference in their bottom line.
Yeah, I know that some of our members have used your services to develop a website for themselves or help them with an SEO strategy, and it's been really, really helpful. Every bit of feedback that I've gotten from the members have it's always been fantastic. So kudos to me for bringing you on.
Yes, thank you very much. Very happy to be on, and it's just been amazing watching the group grow from 3,000. I think it was 3 years or so when I joined, and then 26 now.
We're just under 2 years. Can you believe? It feels crazy, but we're almost at the numbers, which is nuts. But we're facing some new challenges, and you just kind of highlighted a little bit about that Google does change things, and there are things that people need to know. You have been talking in our web development and SEO stream on our interior design community about some of the things that people need to start paying attention to. Can you give me a little bit of the highlights of what you think that designers need to start really paying attention to?
Sure. Well, if we're going to start with design, I mean, I have a few points to make today, but I think design, from a design perspective, mobile and page speed. Those are the two areas that are getting the most attention these days. Now, if we're considering mobile, a lot of websites these days, unless they're brand new, don't have any kind of ability to show a different view of the content on the page based on the size of the display looking at it. So if you're using a small phone, your website or web page isn't adapting to the phone and crafting the content so it appears nice. It's sometimes just showing a very, very small web page, and that just doesn't have any kind of positive usability experience for anyone going to a website. Yeah. And Google's giving a lot of putting a lot of pressure on people, first of all, to make their websites mobile friendly. And one of the terms for it is responsive web design. Now, responsive is when that content does change based on whatever browser or handheld device gets to that page or desktop. Google prefers that your website itself changes to do that. It actually, think of it like a transformer. It'll change and move and grow and shrink based on whatever is looking at it. That's their preference. Another option, of course, is you can have code that recognizes what kind of website is coming or device, and then transfers you to a different version of your site that's designed for it. Okay. So there's two ways to go.
So basically you have two different websites in that scenario, and is that what a lot of our designers are on WordPress themes or Squarespace themes? Is that what they're doing, or are they just more moving parts around?
Yeah, well, in a lot of cases, if you're talking about a newer theme, responsive is built in. Now, it may not be perfect, but it's built in. Certainly, if you've got an older theme and it doesn't have an ability to move around and be responsive to devices, it should be a relatively simple upgrade to a new theme. I mean, obviously, simple is with quotes, because you never know what you're going to deal with in terms of moving content around. But it is a lot easier if you're working on a platform like WordPress.
Right, and we always recommend that our designers hire a professional when they're changing things over, if they're updating a theme, because you just don't know where things are going to end up, and you certainly don't want to lose some of this great content you've been writing for years, right?
Exactly. And you know, one of the interesting things, you mentioned content, is I've been to a couple of conferences lately, and one of the things that they notice, and I'm not going to be very good at describing this from a complete data point of view, like I can't tell you all the numbers, but one of the presenters talked about how they found a great deal of their content, it was a very large site, a news site, was old. And now I face the same issue with StepForth. We've been writing since the year 2000, right? So there's a lot of content that's sitting there, and some of it's so old, it just stagnates and holds back the site in a lot of ways because Google is indexing that content. If anyone out there listening has a website that's big, that is that big, you should look at least blocking or removing that content that is so darn old that you know you're not going to be offering any value to anyone finding it.
Right.
And what happened was, I'm simplifying this, but essentially Google paid more attention to the rest of the site. And as a result, more pages got indexed that you wanted to get indexed, and rankings started to improve. Really interesting. And one of those.
It is. I mean, we have bloggers in the design world who've been blogging for just as long, and I can imagine that the old posts where they're talking about, you know, this season's colors or, you know, this season's new trends. That's 8 years ago, 9 years ago.
Yeah,
It'll still be on your site, right?
Yeah, and you know, if I want to show someone some of the old content, what I've chosen to do is just block that whole directory at Google and just say, hey, you know, don't index this, remove it from your directory. I don't care. I don't want to delete it because there's maybe some value there someday, sometime. Google is a moving target. You never know what might be valuable later. So I just keep it there, and I'm kind of proud of it. You know, there's lots of years there, and I can point that out to people. I've been around that long, and the company has. So, you know, for anyone out there, you may feel the same way, and you want to keep it, go for it. Just block it out. Yeah.
The next step you talked about was image. You want people to pay attention to their images and their page load speeds. And you actually shared a great tip about that in the community, and it didn't get as much play as it should have because it's super important. So tell people about that.
Yeah, thanks. It was something I was quite passionate about because I've been dealing with it a lot, and frankly, a lot with the interior design clients I have, because you guys are phenomenal photographers of these beautiful places, like all the work that they've done and everything. The thing is, we naturally upload a really high-resolution photo to our website. When we do that and someone visits it from even a desktop, it's a little slower to load. If they visit it from a mobile device, it's painful, and it's also usually too large. It's overkill. So what you can do is use the one that I chose to review at the time was Kraken, Kraken.io. That's a strange name, but Kraken.io. If you go there, there's actually a free service, but even if you want to pay, it's very reasonable. And what it will do is it will sometimes decrease the size of an image, and that's just file size. It'll look just as beautiful by 80%. And effortlessly, just press a button, done. And your Google page speed score just for images can dramatically improve. Now, what is Google page speed? Just on Google, just type in page speed, Google page speed, whatever you want to do. And you'll get to this page where you can just put in your website address and run it, and it'll tell you what kind of a rating your website has out of 100 for both desktop users and mobile users, and it'll give you recommendations on how to improve them. And oftentimes it says image size is a problem. And using tools like Kraken.io, you can improve things quite a bit. Now, I mentioned JPEGs were good within Kraken. PNG files are really good. If .png files, they're often used. If you can use Kraken for that, that's great. I've found, so far, I've found JPEG Mini, JPEGmini.com is the best for JPEGs. I haven't updated my report for that, but it's ridiculously cheap, $30, one-time fee, and you can, I've literally saved 5 gigabytes of data on my image collection just by running it.
Wow, wow. And what is it doing right now for the clients that you've been already working with in the interior design world and their websites? I mean, is it a dramatic increase in...
Well, it certainly...
retention happens, right? I mean, if the page is taking forever to load, then you get a higher bounce rate. People are bored in seconds, and they aren't getting the information quick enough, and they leave, right?
Right, and it also puts more weight on your server, which can slow things down and crash websites. It also costs you more money because of bandwidth, although that's not such a big deal these days. It's still something to consider. But definitely, it's about the download time. And really, when you think about it, if you're dealing with a responsive website, one is the exact same site that everyone sees, it just changes based on your handset, you want to make sure those images are as small as possible in terms of file size, but look nice either way. That way, even if a mobile website, or a handset downloads it, then it's going to be just as fast as if a desktop does.
Now, how about translating that to the social media platforms? So you're on my site, you see some gorgeous images, you want to pin them on Pinterest, and of course on Pinterest, you know, high-res images look better. So how does that work when you were sharing these images?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, if you wanted to do just a share of an image, you can still make the image large in terms of width. The quality of the image does not decrease using these programs. It's just what it actually does. I read a little bit about it, just a little bit of the geek side of things, is it takes out information like where it was taken, some of the other details about what aperture was used, all that stuff that's actually built into the file. It removes all of that and other information that's really unnecessary and just leaves the image in the best way. And it also does some interpolation, which I won't get into, but it does improve the size of the image, while only, like, you'd have to be beyond an expert to see any difference in the actual image too.
Okay, that's fantastic. I mean, that seems like a no-brainer. Now, it's an extra step for some of our bloggers and designers to go to another site, take their images that they're uploading, and run it through this process. Is there a batch option? Can people do this, you know, several at a time?
They sure can. So for Kraken.io, and they should be paying me, you can just get a plugin. I think it's, I'm not sure. It's $30 or something. I don't even know. Maybe not even that much, but it is a monthly fee. But what you do is just put the plugin into your WordPress, it's specifically designed for that too, and it just press one button and it'll do everything on your site.
Okay.
How cool is that? And it'll also automatically do it for all further images you upload.
That's what we want to hear, because we all do not have time to just go to one site for doing this and then putting it on our site. That's just too time consuming.
It is. It really is. And you know, when you're thinking about mobile, just make certain that if you're going to build a responsive website, that it looks the way you would want it to look when you're using a mobile handset. Sometimes even the ones that are responsive look kind of ugly. So you just do a little hunting around. Make sure you pick something you really like, and test your own site. Use it on tablets. Use it on your own phone. It's a big thing. And Google Page Speed, check that once in a while. You know, if you make an update to your website, you may just forget to check page speed, but who knows? Maybe a plugin made a big difference. And that's the other thing. Actually, I should mention this too. Plugins. One of the great people in our community we're working with right now, because she has a lot of plugins and she did a great job. Her site's amazing. Problem is there's too many plugins. So we've had to work with her to remove more than half by either discerning which ones aren't useful or which ones are, and the ones that are that we don't really need to keep, we're coding those into the page. So that really a plugin is just code that just easily added, right? In this case, we're hard coding it so that we don't have to use a plugin. Every plugin in WordPress dramatically slows down the website after 10 are installed. So if you've got more than 10, do your best to whittle it down. In her case, the site's crashing constantly, and you can't have that, that's right? So we're making some improvements there. Yeah.
That's huge. That's huge. Now, there's another part of the mobile that I think is going to be really big for designers, and that is, you know, adding in your geolocation information into your site and definitely getting really connected to Google Local. Do you think that is something that designers really should pay attention to?
If they have a local business, yes. You know, the trick is if you don't have a business address, it's not something you can get from, if we're talking classic local here in business. You know, if you want to have a maps listing, which then reflects on local search, you have to have a business address. If you do that, then yes, make sure that the address information is clear and concise within the footer of your pages. Make sure that it's the same address exactly in your contact page. Make sure everywhere else that lists your address is using the exact same syntax, every other third-party site.
Right. And now if you have a service-based business, if I read correctly, you can not list your address, correct? Mm-hmm. And then you can still put in a service area. So designers who are working from their home might want to consider that, still trying to get those reviews. I mean, they're pretty much guaranteed first page listing if you have connected that, and a lot of designers haven't and haven't gotten the reviews. I think it's nuts.
Yeah, you're right. You can do it so that you don't have your address showing. Last I looked, and I'm a little behind on this, I haven't looked in like a couple weeks or so, but which in this world is a long time. But it was not a very positive factor if you say you don't want your address shown. So you may not show very well at all in rankings for local only. Now we're talking about that local pack that people see with their address information and a map nearby. You may, however, show up in a local search. So someone just types in Connecticut
interior designer, and it's all based on their local, you know, where they're logged in, and or in their phone, especially.
Yeah.
You know where you are.
Exactly, and Google is changing that so fast. I can't believe it's shocking how fast they're changing that. I mean,
my husband had a issue this past weekend where he was doing something and he sent an email to someone, and then very soon after got a notification that he had this appointment, and he was like, I checked to make sure I didn't have it on any social network. It was just in my email, you know? So things like that, and I've heard that scenario a couple times. You know, it does have that Big Brother feel, right?
Mm-hmm, definitely. Now, one thing that I'd like to cover too, and it's close to my heart these days, and that's conversion points. Just about 90% of the clients we work with haven't really thought through what conversion points there are on their website or what they want. For example, if you're an interior designer and you write fantastic content and it's getting shared, you're getting some notoriety, that's great. But what's happening? Okay, you're getting a few calls. Good. But what about all those other people that are going to the site and then just leave? What are they getting? Or what are you getting out of them coming? Yeah, you're getting them reading, you're getting notoriety. But what you should be trying to do is getting other conversion points built into your site. For example, there's a great tool called Hello Bar. It's free, and when someone comes to a website, a little bar, very discreet, comes down from the top. It's maybe 20 pixels in depth, and you can add a call to action. You know, sign up for my newsletter. When you sign up, you'll get access to 10 great tips on interior design, or you can even set up autoresponders where every week you're sending out a new newsletter, and you don't have to do anything. This is all automated. That is giving great tips, and people sign up for that. This is just another way to get some soft conversions that really do help your bottom line. I'm guilty of this too at times. I don't have a proper pitch when people get to the site when they read content, and it's a mistake. We really need to make sure that our sites have more than one conversion point, or more than two, say a phone call and maybe a form. You want also a newsletter or some kind of a email login. A like is a conversion point. So if they +1 you or like you, that's great. That enables you to contact them in the future through those particular social platforms, and you've essentially got them connected to you. So those are conversions as well.
Okay, now that's a really great point, but there's a little bit of a difference in the interior design community. We have a lot of designers who do not want to share their pricing, and the reason is because every job is different. I mean, you could really want high-end appliances or not high-end appliances. You could want a $3,000 sofa. You could want a $700 sofa. So there are there's really no way to have them offer like a flat, this is what it costs for my services. But at the same time, I always think it's a great idea to give people a budget in mind, an idea of what your services are. If you are a high-end designer, you know that your typical kitchens cost X. It doesn't mean that theirs is going to cost X, but average. Do you recommend, sharing prices in this scenario online?
No.
No. Okay.
No, never. No, I personally don't. We'll put maybe ranges at the very most. Most communities, most industries I work with, there is a very custom element. Unless you're selling widgets, there's a custom element.
Right.
For StepForth and Shelter SEO, we just want to make sure that we talk to the people first, show that there's a human on this side, and that we want to know more about their business before we can tell anything about pricing. I mean, sure, there's some base fees that are standard, like an hourly rate, but even that can change based on the complexity of the job. No, definitely stick to just, when we're talking about conversions here, it's conversion in the fact that they sign up for any of these elements on your site, or just make an action. They click on the Facebook like, they Google Plus you, whatever. That's some kind of a conversion when someone comes to your website. You want that. You don't want them just to leave.
Sure.
What you do with that after is up to you. I mean, you may do some examples and give ballparks, like you do a case study of a great interior design job you did, and build in a range of what something like this would cost. That's no harm in that. You could even dip it a little low on the ones that you really know could potentially be lower, even if this particular one was high end. The point of the matter is you're giving them something to
reference. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope.
Well, it's difficult because the designers, I understand they don't want to put themselves in a box by putting a price, but at the same time, they also don't want to waste time with with prospects that might not actually be their ideal client. It might, this particular client might just be looking for something lower end that they don't typically do jobs like that. And we talked a little bit about this in our private interior design community on Facebook. And Lisa Ferguson brought up a good point. She's getting great conversions, but how does she attract the ideal client to her website?
Well, and that's a good question. If you think about, well, first of all, it's a great first step. You've got conversions.
Right.
A lot of people are in that position. That's a fantastic place to be. Now, if they aren't the type of people you necessarily want, first of all, my recommendation is to find a company that will handle them and create a relationship. Get some sort of perhaps a percentage, maybe just goodwill. Here's a great person that can help you. Make sure you've vetted them. It's a good thing all around, right?
Right.
Don't let them sit, because these people could potentially refer you from a friend of theirs who does have the kind of budget you need. That said, determining more about who it is that you want and why the ones you have are finding you and the other ones aren't. It's no simple answer here. I mean, and these questions can be very unique. What is it about your marketing, perhaps, that's dragging the wrong people to see you? Or are they really wrong? Is it just a matter of upping the ante and showing a highest level of service you offer? And in many cases, you will get the kind of people that want to see you. But it could also be interacting in the right forums, the right communities where a lot of these people hang out, or advertising, because maybe we're talking people with $1 million budgets. They may not be hanging out on Facebook. They may not be hanging out on these places. And in those cases, it could be extremely targeted advertising. It becomes who you know.
Absolutely.
And then social's only about building those relationships, so you meet the people that they know.
Right, absolutely. I had a great conversation with one of our other moderators, Ann McDonald, this past week, and she was talking about, some of her strategies, which is, setting up booths at dog shows, or going to where her clients are versus, always going to the interior design events. I mean, interior design events are fantastic. We love them. We want to go to all of them as well, but sometimes it's great to show up at the places where your ideal client might be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's interesting when you talk social with clients. I faced this the other day with a vendor who is a competent marketing company. They didn't see the connection with social in that it's not a direct sell. And you always hear it all the time. Don't go into social to sell. You go into social to be an expert, or in this case, when I was talking about this strategy of, let's say, building a really great article is going to get some sort of uptake. Write that article, make sure that it's online and it's ready to be shared. Start sharing it within Facebook, and the response I got was, well, that my client isn't on there. Well, no, that's fine. That doesn't matter. And then I get a real weird look. The point is, you want Google to see that you are an expert in a particular topic or semantic theme, so a theme, right? And if they can see that you are regularly getting likes about your interior design tips or interior design examples, case studies, whatever it might be, that is a reference on your credibility. It's helping you get to where you need to be. It's kind of reverse thinking, and it's very difficult to explain sometimes to clients, but that's the key. Social isn't just a way to contact someone. It's the way to build your reputation so you can get to the right place to contact someone. It's very, very different.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, build authority. A lot of the experts talk about building authority from day one, and that, that authorship kind of was that thing, but it's really moved to this authority ranking that is important. And I wanted to ask you too about, you talked a little bit about going to the places that your clients are, but there are also collaborative businesses, I would think, that are great places to sort of share information and link and share content. For instance, if you are a luxury designer in any town, LA or something, you could talk to the luxury car dealerships, you could talk to the luxury real estate agents, you could talk to the best restaurants. My guess is you're dealing with the same clients. So talking about these same things and sharing content with that group might be incredibly powerful.
Yeah, networking. Absolutely.
Yeah. You get down to the grassroots networking. Links, right? And you can do that through content, right?
Well, that's been the great thing about communities. I mean, how many connections have we made through just interior design community? It's mind-boggling. Yeah. I mean, you're talk. You've got them all. I mean, it's just amazing, the community and the connections. And I never have met so many of these people. Susan, Sarah, I mean, yourself, obviously. All of these people that are just great that aren't in my spectrum. I just would never have ran into them. Maybe would have seen them on Google+. That's about it. And they're very authoritative. They've got great minds, great clients. These are the kind of people that you want to know. And the fact that they're awesome helps.
I mean, it's about working together and building up a collaborative network. And I think that can happen through real-life experiences as well as online experiences. I know that there have got to be other small businesses that are sort of struggling with the same things you are. The local realtor who would love an article about how to design that great new house once they have it, or what renovation plans they could do, and they might in turn have great content for you. It's kind of like you could share that experience or syndicate your content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one thing too that I really want to stress, a little bit of a jump here, but I've got it on my notes here, so I don't want anyone to forget. If you have not signed up yet to Google Webmaster Tools, do it.
Yes.
We've run into 2 instances lately where clients have not had that, new clients have not been signed up and didn't realize that there was some very, very important information sitting in there waiting for them. This is Google's only way to tell you what it thinks about your website. And if there's an alert, any kind of a warning, you need to act on it immediately. And if you find out that that's sitting there and it could have been there for months, your website could be in hot water, and you may have to redesign. You may have to redo everything. It's that bad at times. Most not, thankfully, but this is how bad it can be. So make sure you go to Google Webmaster Tools, just search out of Google, sign up, and also set up Google Analytics. Doesn't matter if you're not going to look at it. Make sure that data is accruing over time. All that stuff provides a data analyst or an auditor, myself, auditor being SEO auditor, not those other scary people, but that will be able to go through and figure out what happened and what went wrong, or what's good and what's bad, and what kind of advertising you've been doing that has been working, what hasn't.
Right.
We need that info.
The problem with that, Ross, I'm going to tell you straight up, is that designers look at that kind of thing and they're overwhelmed. So you do actually offer that service where you actually help them get this thing set up, because they can go in and hire you out to set up their, webmaster tools, set up their, because Google is not, I love Google, I'm a Google girl, but Google is not so great at explaining this to the non-geeks, right?
Yeah, they're the nerds trying to explain it to geeks, never mind to humans.
That's right.
I'm pretty much a geek, and I know
out there, that's me and you, because I don't know how to do it there. So.
Yeah, and there's different ways of doing this. I've tried to make every option available for every budget. If someone has virtually no budget and they need help, we created marketinghigh.com. That's marketinghigh.com. You can ask any question you want. It's $49 a year, unlimited questions, and we'll answer them. And we've got tutorials. We've got a huge barrage of tutorials coming we've been working on. So we want to make this thing a real driver for small businesses that just need to get out there. And I don't want them to get taken advantage of from all these bad articles that are written out there, these companies that are fly-by-night. You can trust us to provide good info, and for that price, it should be a no-brainer.
Yeah,
hopefully.
And that's the key right there, is trust, because I just think so many designers don't want to hear about how to do everything, so they go to someone maybe local, they say, I need a website. Before the person even asks them anything, they say, what is your budget? And no matter what you say beyond that, that's going to be the price. That you can say, I need 1 million things, and it'll be the budget. And if you need 2 things, it still will be the budget. So,
and one of the few things that we do put a number on, and I think it's beyond reasonable considering what we do. We do about 30 pages of writing and content, is audits. Now, this is on the mid-range, but if a person wants to know whether or not why their website's not doing well, you can find a ton of tutorials online, first of all. There's a ton of ways you can do this yourself, no question. If they want someone to do it, you can find out all the answers for what we charge is $1,125, so $1,125, 30 pages of content. Right. Or you can use Marketing High, find out how to do it, get a lot of great tips, and just work at it one at a time for $49 a year. So we're going a whole spectrum. I know some audits can be many thousands. We almost always stick within $1,125, and we've never had a complaint. Now, I don't want this to be a pitch after this. That's probably enough. But I just wanted to say that if your website isn't doing what you want it to do, there's a reason for it, and it could be very simple. Right. And I just hate to see those just sit. I know, and it's always that question of you don't know what you don't know, and that I think that is what happens. You build it, it looks fine. You don't know why you're not getting the traffic, or you don't know why the phone isn't ringing, and it's oftentimes can be some simple answer that you just actually need a professional to touch it and play with it, and it's somebody you can trust is even better. And Ross, you've been so fantastic in the community offering help to members, and members, you can feel free to reach out to Ross in the community and ask a question, but also know that he has a number of different things to help you with your SEO. He has hands-on, sort of like you have a retainer kind of deal where people can come to you and ask you questions as they need it. You have the content, website. You have Shelter SEO. So you have a lot of different options for designers. Yeah, and the radio show too.
Right, the radio show is free. You can listen to it.
Yeah, and just download that on the way to work and listen. We get a lot of people doing that, and it's I'm so honored to have my good friend John on that, because I learn from him all the time. He's his company. He's the head of SEO and social media for the company that owns Reddit, Condé Nast. I mean, every magazine. It's insane. So he brings a whole corporate element. I bring the small, medium business element, and we have a blast. Also, I just completed a 1-hour webinar where I packed it full of tips for a best web. I'll post it to the Google, our interior designer SEO section. On our
and put it in the event here too, because all these links, put them into the event, because it's a bunch of different resources and different levels. Like if the reason there are a bunch of different websites that he has is that you might just need one question answered, or you might need to, you might need full hands-on help. You don't have to always pay for more than what you need, so it's kind of nice to have options.
Yeah, we prefer you don't. We don't need any pressure.
Right. I know.
We want to help you, and then you can, just take it as you want.
You're
doing this too long. I want to chill, right? But give you some ideas of what you can find in this. I spent way too many hours in this thing. I want people to get lots of value out of that webinar if they go and check it out. I've got powerful ideas on how to find news for writing content if you get stumped. For example, BuzzFeed, Distractify, Viral Nova, Upworthy. I mean, these are all different places that we just see and go, oh, those are annoying. But they're great sources of what people want to read about. These people do it all the time. They know what people want to read about. Get those. Figure some way to skew it into your own market and write something about it. And, one of my favorite tips, I can't remember where I put it out, but was to, they show celebrity homes. Well, to take the pictures they've shown of these celebrity homes for sale and critique them as an interior designer would. This is interesting. Why would this? And then use the celebrity's name and this, and then you end up getting some real cross promotion, and potentially it could get picked up. You never know. It's the kind of thing people love to read. Yeah. Especially if it's snarky.
Yeah.
And you get fun with it, right?
Designers being snarky? No. Never happened.
No. Well, and there's also questions. Are there questions that you could use to write with? Quora, Askville, Blurtit, Yahoo Answers. All these places are great places that you can get lots of info. And this is just a touch. I've got tools I love. I've written up.
Oh, I love it.
I gave it away.
Here it is. Here it is. That's all the stuff we want to know, because there's such a big endeavor. It's a daily task to have your on-page SEO, off-page SEO plans, trying to get people to share your stuff and build your authority. It can take can hurt your head just thinking about it, really, because it's such a big task. So breaking it down and helping people find this information really quickly and easily is amazing. Awesome.
Yeah. What have you found the hardest part about maintaining a website?
For me, it's the steady, being steady on, with releasing content, because it's not, there are days that get busier than others, and I think designers struggle with the same thing. It's just there's a task list that is out there to do all of these things, and if you really did everything that is on the task list, you couldn't actually work a real job. So, that's the small business owner struggle, is how much of this can I do realistically every single day and be okay with and still be able to maintain and run my business. I can't add 4 or 5, 6 hours onto my day every single day, realistically.
Yeah, well, and have a family life too.
Right.
Have a
little work-life balance.
Yeah, my little girl's only 3. I want to spend time with her, I don't want to just go right up to my office when I get home.
Yeah.
I was doing that for a while, and it was just too much.
I hear ya. That's been my life, it seems like, for the last few years. Because, it's tough when you want to do all of these things and you really want to implement the plans. But, when you look at it as a whole, you really could concentrate on just a few things and still do pretty well.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Focusing is becoming quite a challenge these days, though. I mean, you'd have to almost have that as a talent.
Right, right.
Because every corporate tool, piece of hardware, whatever it is, all these social platforms are designed not to let us focus. Right.
Either that or prescription for Adderall.
There we go.
So it's really important for everyone to know that these are things you actually have to act on now, especially if your website has images that are too large or has has an outdated website that is not responsive. So check it out. Make sure that you have these things in hand before 2015. It's going to be a very big thing. And if you really need the help, reach out to Ross, reach out to the community. We are here to help, and that's the important thing. Thank you so much, Ross, for taking the time to be with us. Really
My pleasure. So much fun to be with you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and make sure you visit us on interiordesign.com, interiordesigncommunity.com, and always on Google+. See you later.
Have a great
Bye.
day.